A warm greeting. Today is Monday, August 28, 2023. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia speaking. At the time of recording this video, it's 6:45 in the evening in the Florida and Cuba region. They are under alert due to Tropical Storm Idalia, which is close to becoming a hurricane. I will provide an update on the forecast, specifically regarding where Idalia is expected to pass over Florida and the effects that will be felt across the central and northern parts of the state. But before that, I wanted to mention that Hurricane Franklin has been rapidly intensifying and is currently a powerful Category 4 hurricane with sustained maximum winds of 145 miles per hour. If we zoom in on the visible satellite image of Hurricane Franklin, you can see that it has an almost perfect structure with a well-defined circulation center and a large eye. It's currently moving northward. It's highly likely that the hurricane is at its peak intensity right now, and a Hurricane Hunter aircraft is about to enter the circulation center to verify if it has strengthened further. It might be approaching Category 5 status. Although Hurricane Franklin is over the Atlantic waters and doesn't pose a direct threat to the eastern United States, Bermuda should continue to monitor its progress as some indirect effects are expected. According to the latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center, it's anticipated to pass northwest of the island, but close enough to bring some tropical storm force effects. Fortunately, the trends have been to keep this cyclone away from the island, so the concern of it taking a more eastern path has diminished considerably. There's better consensus that the strongest winds should remain over the Atlantic waters. Additionally, the National Hurricane Center estimates that it will maintain hurricane strength until at least Thursday morning, which is unusual for this region in the Atlantic. Now, let's turn our attention to Tropical Storm Idalia, which has sustained maximum winds of 70 miles per hour. It's nearing hurricane status as it approaches the western part of Pinar del Río in Cuba. Looking at the infrared satellite image, you can see that Tropical Storm Idalia continues to generate strong thunderstorms near the center of circulation. Although we observed rapid strengthening during the previous night, today it has only managed to strengthen gradually. This is actually good news for the state of Florida, as it hasn't entered that rapid strengthening phase yet. However, conditions in the Gulf of Mexico are expected to improve. The main reason for the pause in rapid strengthening is that some northwesterly wind shear is impacting the circulation. Nevertheless, it's expected that atmospheric conditions will improve when it reaches the Gulf of Mexico, and it might undergo a rapid intensification process, potentially becoming a major hurricane as it approaches the northern regions of Florida. Currently, Tropical Storm Idalia is affecting the western regions of Cuba with heavy rain and some tropical storm force wind gusts. Looking at the radar image, you can see that the most active part of this tropical storm remains to the right of the circulation center, which means it's still being affected by westerly wind shear. This is good news for Pinar del Río, as it isn't strengthening beyond expectations. However, it's still expected to become a hurricane as it passes over this area tonight. A Hurricane Hunter aircraft is currently investigating the system and has just passed over the circulation center. At this time, it has found that the winds are sustained at 70 miles per hour, although the barometric pressure has decreased to around 983 millibars. This indicates that Tropical Storm Idalia has continued to strengthen, but in a gradual manner as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. We'll remain closely attuned to the Hurricane Hunter's mission to see if the anticipated rapid intensification begins at some point. There have been some changes in the trajectory forecasts during the afternoon today. As you can see, compared to the morning, the forecasts now have a slightly more northern trajectory towards the Florida Big Bend. The trajectories have moved away from the Tampa region, which is good news for the surrounding areas. However, it's expected that this cyclone will make landfall in the northern sectors of Florida and cross over the southeastern parts of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. In terms of intensity forecast, the models continue to predict rapid strengthening and forecast it to arrive as a Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane when it approaches the Big Bend region of Florida on Wednesday morning. Here we have the latest bulletin from the National Hurricane Center. As you can see, there's a hurricane warning in effect for Pinar del Río in Cuba. Additionally, a tropical storm warning has been issued from Fort Myers to the city of Tampa, and a hurricane warning extends from Tampa to Panama City. Specifically, the central northern region of Florida is likely to experience hurricane-force winds. Also, note that a tropical storm watch covers a significant portion of eastern Florida, as well as sections of eastern and southern Georgia and South Carolina. Zooming in a bit to the region where the circulation center is estimated to make landfall, you can see that the projected path takes it over the Florida Big Bend area between Tallahassee and Gainesville on Wednesday morning. This 5 p.m. forecast track has had a slight adjustment compared to the morning track. At least, this reduces the risk for Tampa and St. Petersburg. However, cities like Tallahassee, Gainesville, and Jacksonville remain on alert and should expect to experience hurricane-force winds, similar to the city of Valdosta in southern Georgia. Let's now briefly look at the forecast from the global models. Here's the latest run of the American model, GFS, which shows a Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane making landfall just south of the city of Tallahassee on Wednesday morning. Additionally, let's take a look at the forecast from the European model, which shows a trajectory slightly more to the east compared to the American model. The midday run indicates a Category 2 hurricane making landfall over the Florida Big Bend region on Wednesday morning. We also have the forecast from the German model, which shows a Category 3 hurricane making landfall over the Florida Big Bend region, also on Wednesday morning. There's a lot of consensus among the models and among the ensemble members of the GFS model, all of which predict a landfall over the Florida Big Bend region, with scenarios ranging from Panama City to near Ocala. If you live in this area, it's important to complete your preparations as it's highly likely to be the impact zone, and the chances of it shifting more to the east or west have decreased during the afternoon. There's also the ensemble forecast from the European model, which has a trajectory a bit more to the right. Nevertheless, it still projects a landfall over the Florida Big Bend region, very close to the city of Ocala. Residents between Ocala, Gainesville, and Jacksonville should be preparing for this hurricane. Also note that the ensemble members have the circulation center making landfall as a Category 1 hurricane near the city of Jacksonville. Now, let's summarize the anticipated impacts specifically for where the circulation center is expected to make landfall. Some extreme damage is expected, especially along the northern peninsula of Florida, including Jacksonville and Gainesville. Moderate effects are likely over much of the southern and central regions of South Carolina and Georgia, as well as eastern regions of North Carolina. In terms of wind, the strongest winds are expected near the point of landfall, with some wind gusts potentially exceeding 115 miles per hour. Hurricane-force winds should impact the northern region of Florida and coastal areas of southern Georgia and South Carolina. Tropical storm-force winds will extend across central Florida, the Panama City region, and much of the central and eastern parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Furthermore, a major concern with this cyclone is storm surge, particularly along the Big Bend area, where storm surge of 6 to 10 feet is anticipated, reaching up to 15 feet in some areas. For instance, for the city of Tampa, a surge of 3 to 5 feet is currently forecast. In southwestern Florida, surge could be 1 to 3 feet. Coastal cities like Jacksonville, Savannah, and nearby areas could experience surge of 3 to 6 feet. If you live along the coast, especially the Big Bend area, you should evacuate immediately, as conditions will deteriorate starting tomorrow afternoon. Remember that a significant rainfall event is expected, especially over northern Florida, where around 8 inches of rain is forecast. Some isolated areas could receive up to 18 inches. For central Florida, between Orlando, Tampa, and Kissimmee, rainfall is expected to be between 1 and 3 inches. Across eastern North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, anticipate 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. Keep this in mind if you live in flood-prone areas along the path of future Hurricane Idalia. The combined effects of rain and wind are likely to cause power outages, particularly across northern Florida and southeastern Georgia, where outages could be widespread. Areas of eastern North Carolina, South Carolina, and southern Georgia could also experience some outages, as well as regions around Orlando and southwestern Florida. For now, the West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami regions are not expected to be significantly affected by this hurricane. Well, that concludes today's afternoon forecast update. Keep an eye on the National Hurricane Center bulletins. The next one comes at 8 p.m. Then, there will be a special bulletin at 11 p.m., where there could be some adjustments to the track. However, we are confident today that Idalia is likely to become a Category 3 hurricane and make landfall near the Florida Big Bend area, impacting cities like Tallahassee, Gainesville, and Jacksonville more significantly. I will update this forecast early tomorrow morning. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button. Then, click the notification bell to receive alerts when I release new videos. I hope our followers in Western Cuba and the state of Florida are ready to face this cyclone. Let's hope it doesn't cause major issues. Well, now it's time for me to say goodbye. Until next time.